Good afternoon. I see we have some participants rolling in here today. I'm going to give it just a few minutes as folks join us for this afternoon's webinar. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so as we kind of continue to get some more folks into the session, I'm just going to start with a little bit of a slow intro as folks continue to join. Of course, welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for All Ohio Students, sponsored by the Ohio Association for College Admissions Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. Please know, participants, you can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter this afternoon, Jenny. Your camera and your microphone are off, so the panelists can't hear or see you. So that Q&A is really your best way to interact. As you know, this is one of many sessions happening throughout this fall season, so be sure to continue to check out the full schedule at oacac.org. The presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website. As a reminder, oacac.org. And now I will go ahead and turn off this slide and I will go ahead and pass things over to Jenny.
Thank you so much. So, we're just having it loading a moment as I'm. But thank you everyone so much for joining for, I don't know if you can still hear me. I'm definitely having some technical difficulties on my end.
Just wanted to pop in. You're good. We can still hear you. We can still see you. It just looks like your screen's loading, so no problem.
I just sorry about that. Seems I got a little issue with Zoom saying it unexpectedly quit, but it seems like it's back. So thanks everyone for coming. It might not be able to seem to do the screen sharing functionality for some reason. Let me try one more time to see if I can get that going. But my name is Jenny Hunkin. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at Johns Hopkins. So I am the representative for students in Ohio. So if you have questions after today, I will be the person that you will direct those questions to. So starting with some basics about Johns Hopkins, we are located in Baltimore, Maryland. So we are in the northern part of the city on the Homewood campus. So students are on that Homewood campus, and we have the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences and the Whiting School of Engineering. So for our students, you're not applying into a specific major, nor are you applying directly into a school, with one exception of our biomedical engineering program. Oh no, I'm still getting error messages. Can you all still hear me?
We can hear you. It looks like your video froze.
Okay, apologies everyone for the tech difficulties. I'll try to figure those out while I continue to talk, but the good news is you can hear me, so I will continue talking about Hopkins. So you're not applying into a specific school or major, with that one exception of the biomedical engineering program. So you have a lot of time to really figure out what you want to be studying, what that best options are for you. That is through our very open and flexible curriculum at Johns Hopkins. So students will be a part of our distribution credit system, where you will explore different academic areas across the humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, engineering, and writing intensive courses. But what that will look like will really be up to you. You're always the one that is deciding what you want to be taking, what makes the most sense for your goals and interests. So students will be able to sort of decide their own academic pathway. It is also extremely flexible in that you're able to count courses that are going to be for your majors and minors towards those different distribution requirements. So let's say you're going to be a history and computer science double major, then all of your distribution credits are going to be fulfilled by those different distribution credits through the courses you're already taking in your major. You might take a class that needs 3 distribution credits at once. But whatever it is that you're taking, you're always deciding what makes the most sense for you. Because of that flexibility, many of our students will have double majors or majors and minors together. So over 60% of our students will have that double major or major and a minor. So this can really be any combination. I know students who have had chemistry and archaeology double majors, international studies and economics, whatever makes sense for you. There's no limitation on what you can bring together in those double majors. So we have over 50 different majors, over 40 different minors, so a lot of different options for our students to explore. Whatever it is you're studying though, a really core pillar of the Hopkins education is hands-on learning. So hands-on learning takes many different shapes at Hopkins, whether that is research, internships, study abroad, design teams for our engineering programs, entrepreneurship. So this can look many different ways. So starting with research, over 80% of our students will do research. The accessibility and focus on research definitely goes back to our founding as the US's first research university. We're also the school in the US that spends the most on research. So for this past year, we spent about $2.6 billion on research. So it's very much happening in abundance, which is why it's so easy to get involved and why so many of our undergraduate students will take advantage of those different opportunities. So for our students, research can happen on many different levels, that sort of individual level, but also where you're sort of the one driving forward your research, what questions are most important to you, what you want to be studying through that research project. You can get grant funding from the university. We have our Hopkins Office of Undergraduate Research that helps our students to find that right project, the right funding to have that go forward. Students will use that funding to have supplies and equipment they need for research, but also to have that research take them all over the country, all over the world. Students will also do research with their faculty at Hopkins. So every single academic department has ongoing research. So if you have a specific major that you're already thinking about, I definitely encourage you to go to that specific academic department page and see what students are currently doing for that research. Additionally, many of our students will take take advantage of being a part of that larger Hopkins network. So students are able to connect with the other pieces of Hopkins. So our Homewood campus is very undergraduate focused, but there's a lot of other parts of that Hopkins network. So these range from our School of Advanced International Studies, the Peabody Conservatory, to our School of Education, our School of Business, the Hopkins Medical Campus, which includes the Hopkins Hospital and Medical School, the Bloomberg School of Public Health, as well as our School of Nursing. So there's a lot of different great options for our students to connect with those different parts of the Hopkins network academically, but also through research as well. So academically, there's opportunities like our public health studies majors are actually required to take graduate level courses at the Bloomberg School of Public Health during their senior year. I know students will take very unique or advanced language classes through our School of Advanced International Studies, but also through shadowing opportunities. We have shadowing programs at the Hopkins hospitals just for our undergraduate students, so very easy to take advantage of those. But we also have lots of research opportunities across these different networks. So I know students who have done research through the Carey School of Business, students who have done research at the Hopkins Hospital. So one student I know is a computer science and physics double major with a minor in space sciences. So that student did their research at the Hopkins Hospital looking at a project that was on the long-term health impacts of astronauts who have spent significant periods of time in space. So this student was able to really bring their interest and experiences in space sciences and data analytics, computer modeling to this project. But being at a place like Hopkins, there are really unique research projects going on that are bringing together world-class doctors, astronauts, physicists to these projects to really come together to solve pressing issues. And at Hopkins, you really get to be on that cutting edge of innovation, bringing together different disciplines and finding answers to questions that you've always wondered about or that people haven't been able to answer. So it's a really exciting place to do research, to bring your academic areas of interest. But students are also very much having these hands-on learning opportunities through internships as well. So over 85% of students will be engaging with internships during their time at Hopkins. So being in the city of Baltimore means that students are able to have those opportunities during the school year, as well as during the summer months, having during the summer, those internships take you to Baltimore, but also all over the country, all over the world. So some examples of where students will connect in Baltimore includes doing marketing internships for the Baltimore Orioles, or a material science engineering internship with Under Armour, one of our hometown companies, figuring out the best ways to create sneakers for high performance athletes. There'll be students who have art curatorial internships with our Baltimore Museum of Art, which is essentially on campus. So lots of different ways that students can really engage and really see what they're learning in the classroom looks like beyond the theory, looks like in practice, and see maybe what you want to be doing when you graduate as well. So students have a lot of support through our Life Design Lab, which is our version of the Career Center, where students are able to find lots of different internship options, but get that individualized support to help you figure out exactly where your interests might be taking you. And as well as they do a lot of great connection with our alumni community as well. So we have a very active alumni community that are always looking to help our undergraduate students. We have formalized mentor programs where you can search for those alumni who want to act as mentors by location, by area of interest, all these different factors to find alumni who can really speak to you. But then we also have many of our students engaging in study abroad. So students can study abroad for an entire year, a semester, as well as during our intersession period. So intersession is the time between our fall and spring semester where you're able to, go home for that first part, those first 2.5, 3 weeks. You can continue staying at home for the final 2.5, 3 weeks, relaxing, doing whatever you'd like, or you can come back to campus and take a sort of abbreviated course that's on a fun topic. Our students usually describe them as. So these include things like Introduction to Podcasting, or one of our professors did a class on poker, looking at the game theory, the statistics behind poker, and the course culminated in a poker tournament at his house. There's things like Material Science Engineering Chocolate, where you get to eat and work with chocolate. Well, of course, learning about material science engineering. There's things like the psychology of serial killers. Personally, less fun for me than the chocolate, but still a very engaging course according to our students who have taken it. Additionally, during the intersession times, many of our students will also study abroad. So for those intersession study abroad programs, students will go all over. We have programs that go to Denmark, where students will study social entrepreneurship and their culture, or Cuba and study Cuban literature and cinema. There's students who will go to South Africa and study public health studies, looking at sort of the intersections between NGOs and governmental sectors. During the typical school year, students will be in over 40 different countries. So there's lots of different options. We have many of our own Hopkins specific study abroad programs. We are definitely not limited to just our offerings. So our Office of Study Abroad has individual advisors who will work with you to find that right program of, do you want to be in a specific country? Do you want to have an internship while you're abroad? And at Hopkins, it's not really sort of a question of, will you be able to find an internship? Will you be able to find research opportunities? It's much more about finding that right opportunity for you and finding the things that really speak to you and your interests. So those advisors are able to work with you individually to find those right opportunities and really guide you through the Hopkins experience. So we are more of a mid-sized institution, about 5,300 undergraduate students. So that means you get a lot of that individualized advising, whether it's through our Office of Study Abroad, the Life Design Lab, our Hopkins Office of Undergraduate Research, but also before you even step foot on campus, you have your academic advisor. You also have departmental advisors. So once you declare those major or majors, you'll have an advisor within that department who will work with you as well. So you really have this sort of team of advisors around you who help you navigate all the different opportunities available to you. Another type of advising at Hopkins is our pre-professional advising. So if you're interested in any pre-health or pre-law areas, these would be advising tracks. So not majors or minors, but tracks where students are able to get that support to take advantage of these different opportunities. So what that looks like is they'll help you think about what classes you'll want to be taking outside of your major. These different pre-professional advising tracks have sort of email listservs that send out weekly emails with all different hands-on learning opportunities, research, clinical opportunities, shadowing experiences. That'll help you define your interests as well as prepare for those application processes to those graduate schools. They'll also help with the logistics of applying to those different graduate programs. And so that's a really great way to have your interests and sort of be working towards your future goals. You don't have to be a specific major or apply into these tracks. They're open to everyone. I know a student who was a writing seminars major, our creative writing program, who's currently in medical school. I know a student who was a chemical biomolecular engineer who's in law school. So what your major is doesn't define what you can take advantage of or what you're able to do while you're at Hopkins. Additionally, students will find a lot of great support, not just from our professors and from our staff at Hopkins, but also from one another. We have a very collaborative student body, students who are always looking to support one another. So we definitely see this in the classroom, but also just sort of in day-to-day life of students supporting one another, providing advice, providing insight into what they learned from when they were first years at Hopkins. I see a lot of this. We do have very formal mentorship programs at Hopkins, but also really informally through our different student groups as well. We have over 400 different student organizations that really run the full gamut. So these can include, we have 12 different a cappella groups at Hopkins. We have an investment team that manages a $250,000 budget to make real world investments in the stock market. We also have a breakfast cereal club that gets together and eats breakfast cereal. So wide variety of things that our students are doing at Johns Hopkins. All of these different student organizations are student run, student organized, student led. Students are making those important decisions of what speakers are coming to campus, what events they'll be hosting, really shaping that campus conversation, the student culture, and really the campus community as a whole. So students are also doing that through our student organizations, but also through our student campus traditions that happen annually. So one of those that's definitely a favorite of our students and definitely a favorite of mine is our Lighting of the Quads event. So students, there's a lot of different event pieces of the event sort of leading up to that, where there'll be gingerbread making competitions, lots of hot chocolate. There's typically ice skating without ice, not fully sure on the mechanics of it, but it is extremely fun. But sort of the culminating piece of that event is a speech by our president, Ron Daniels, who will sort of reflect on the semester, but at the end of his speech, he'll have this big button, he'll press it, and all of the white lights on the quad go on at once. It's followed by a fireworks show that's really just sort of this magical moment of our campus coming together, the quads being lit up through the lights and the fireworks. And it's a really nice sort of culminating moment before the winter finals, before students are going home for that winter break. There's lots of other events like that throughout the year that really bring the campus community together. We also have smaller campus traditions, like something sort of called informally Plastic Pink Flamingo Day, where one day in the spring, one of our quads will be covered in plastic pink flamingos. So there's not really a purpose of this campus tradition. It's sort of a fun, quirky thing that happens every year. So different things like that will also sort of unite our student body together. But students are also really invested, not just with our campus community, but also with the Baltimore community. So students really have the opportunity to become full citizens of the city of Baltimore during their 4 years at Hopkins. So you'll definitely find your interests represented on campus, but many of our students take those off campus as well. So for example, I know students who have danced ballet on campus and joined the Baltimore City Ballet Company, students who are involved with student government, who are getting involved with local elections and activism in the community, students who are involved with our business societies, who are getting involved with the local startup and entrepreneurship scene in Baltimore. So lots of great ways to be engaging with the city and to really finding all of your different interests represented during your time at Hopkins. But Baltimore is also just a really fun city to be an undergraduate student. It's sort of a hidden college town. There are 14 colleges and universities in the Baltimore area. So that means there's lots of great student discounts, lots of opportunities to take advantage of free public transit and to really explore the city and be able to access everything Baltimore has to offer. It is a city of neighborhoods with over 200 distinct neighborhoods, each having its own sort of feel and flair of what you're able to find in those different neighborhoods. You can really find the one that speaks to sort of your vibe, your interests. I always encourage students to explore the city with your stomach. Finding that best crab cake in the city of Baltimore is an important journey. It can definitely take you all over the city. And I did not like crab before I moved to Baltimore, but it is truly amazing in Baltimore, so highly suggest that. But if food is not your all-time favorite thing, I promise there's plenty of other things to do in the city. So this includes, we have a really fantastic art museum scene that I always love. We have really fun improv comedy scene in Baltimore as well. Just walking around our different parks are always beautiful. The waterfront, especially at sunset in the harbor, is really beautiful as well. So there's always different things. The city has a lot of its own traditions, events, and festivals that our students will find a lot of enjoyment in as well. So always exciting things happening in Baltimore for our students to get involved with. So that's a quick snapshot of academic, student life on campus. But now I want to turn to our admissions and financial aid process. So at Hopkins, we do a holistic admissions review, which means we're looking at all the parts of your application together. So all those different pieces that I'll talk about in a moment, they come together to give us a full picture of who you are. So really think about, as you're putting together your own college applications, what is the story that you're telling about yourself? How are you using these different pieces to highlight all the different parts of who you utilizing this holistic admissions review to your advantage to utilize all the parts to tell your full story. A holistic admissions review, though, also means that your own individual context is being taken into account while we're reviewing your application. So that means your high school context, what classes are available to you, what are the opportunities there, your community context, your family context, your own individual context, all the pieces of who you are and sort of your experiences help shape your own admissions review. So if you had a concussion your sophomore year and that impacted your academics or what clubs you could be a part of, or how has the pandemic impacted your day-to-day life, all these are things that will be taken into account while we're reviewing your application. So while we're reviewing your application, we're focusing on 3 larger categories: your academic character, your impact and initiative in your communities, and your overall match with the university. So that piece of match with the university is sort of this overarching part of the review. We're thinking about, who are you as a student and who would you be as a student at Hopkins? Who are you as a community member and what might that look like at Hopkins in Baltimore? We want to really understand you within our own individual review process by thinking about our community, our values, our experience at Hopkins. So concretely, what we're looking at here, starting with things that you would expect admissions officers to look at, like your transcript. We'll look at 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to see how are you going about your classes, how are you challenging yourself with rigorous courses, how are you doing in those individual classes, really trying to get a sense of your academic journey. We'll also be looking at different things like your letters of recommendation. So we ask for 2 letters of recommendation from academic teachers. These can be from any academic teachers as long as they know you in that sort of traditional academic sense. So maybe not your PE teacher, but your computer science teacher or your English teacher. Those would be great teachers to help us understand you. Make sure they do know you well, as the subject that you choose is less important than how are they going to be able to speak about who you are in the classroom. So thinking about what type of questions you ask, how do you collaborate with others, what are you really excited to learn about? We'll also ask for 1 letter of recommendation from your school counselor. This helps us understand more of a broader context of you in high school, sort of your bird's eye view of you in your high school experience. Another part that can help us understand your academics is potentially your standardized testing. So we have a 1-year test optional policy in response to the pandemic causing a lack of availability of test centers, test center closures. So it is test optional for this year. So that means that if you don't have a score, your application will be complete without submitting a test score, and you're not at a disadvantage for not choosing to submit a test score. If you have a test score and you're really proud of it and you feel like it really represents your abilities, you can of course submit that with your application for consideration. But just because you're submitting a test score doesn't mean you're inherently advantaged in the process. So it is truly up to you on if you want to be submitting a test score. If you have a test score and you don't feel like it's your best sort of representation of your abilities, you can make that personal decision. Do you want to send it or not? It is really up to you and what works best for you during these really different times. Additionally, though, we want to look at beyond just who you are as a student, as an academic. So we want to understand you also within your communities, that impact and initiative piece I mentioned prior. So your letters of recommendation can definitely help us understand who you are as a community member at school, but we also want to know directly from you. How do you interact as a community member in all the different communities you're a part of? That's where your activities list and your essays come into play. For that activities list, we really want you to think broadly about all the different ways that you're engaging with the world around you. So this includes clubs, activities, athletics that you're doing through school, but also outside of school, community service, after school jobs, family responsibilities, cultural and religious responsibilities, hobbies that you might have, all these different ways that you're spending your time that isn't going to school or isn't studying for those classes. We want to hear about what does that look like for you? When we are looking at your activities list, we're not approaching it with this sort of checklist mentality of have you done X, Y, and Z, but rather we're really thinking about whatever it is you're doing, how are you going about that? This impact and initiative framing. How are you positively impacting those around you? How are you taking initiative to better your communities? We're thinking about the responsibilities you're taking on, the skills you're learning, because we're not expecting you to do the exact same things that you're doing now when you arrive to college. It's okay to try out new things and change your mind, but the way that you engage with communities, the way that you positively impact others, that's going to be something that you carry with you. So we want to understand a little bit more about that through your activities list, but your essays are also a great way to tell us more about who you are as a community member. So for your personal statement, the essay that you're sending to every college and university that you're applying to, so this is sometimes referred to as the personal essay, the Common App essay, they're all sort of that same type of essay where we're looking to learn more about you, your values, how you would describe yourself, your perspective, how you move about the world, helping us really get those pieces that we wouldn't get otherwise, helping us understand you and your perspective. So there's not a right topic or a wrong topic for your personal statement, but do make sure it's really coming back to yourself. I would recommend thinking about a few adjectives that describe yourself, some core values of who you are, and then thinking about what are some stories or examples of how these are executed or how I share this in my life. So don't necessarily start with, I'm going to write my essay about working at the grocery store. Start more with those adjectives and values to ground your essay and make sure it's really going to be adding new information about who you are into the application. We have something at Hopkins called Essays That Worked. This is a part of our admissions website where you're able to find the essays of students who applied, were admitted, and came to Johns Hopkins, and read through those as example essays of ones that we thought were really great while reviewing applications. But maybe more importantly, you can read the comments that we as admissions officers wrote about what was so great about that essay. That way you can really get into the mindset of us as admissions officers to help you think about your own essay. Additionally, we have our own supplemental essay, the Hopkins supplemental essay, where this is an essay just for us. We ask you to tell us about interest, identity, background, or community, and how that shapes what you want to get out of the Hopkins experience. So my advice for this essay is to think about, why are you excited to apply to Hopkins? Is it the research opportunities? Is it Baltimore? Is it interdisciplinary thinking? There's so many other reasons you might be excited, but think about, what are those for you? And then think about whatever it is that those are for you. Think about why. Why are you excited about that particular part of Hopkins? Think about what identity, interest, background, or community makes you excited, sort of informs that interest, and try to explain that to us in your essay. So although you're definitely writing this essay specifically for Johns Hopkins and for our university, you're still the star of the show in that essay. You want to make sure that the essay is really centered on you and that we're still trying to learn about you as a future community member at Hopkins, but really thinking about you in this essay. We also, so those are all the application components we look for. You can apply to Hopkins through the Common or Coalition for College application. We have 3 different application rounds you can apply through: regular decision, and then early decision 1 and early decision 2. So early decision 1 and 2 are binding decision rounds. You can only apply to one school through a single early decision round. And if you're admitted through early decision, then you're committed to attend that school. So it's designed for students who know where their top choice school is. If that's you, I definitely encourage you to think about applying through early decision. And then you're able to also find out a little bit earlier through those rounds. So early decision 1, that deadline is November 2nd. Students will find out if they've been admitted by mid-December. Early decision 2 has a deadline of January 4th. Students will find out if they've been admitted by mid-February. And then we also have regular decisions. That's the round that is not binding. So if you're not ready to make that sort of commitment to Hopkins, or you want to compare offers across different schools, you'll want to make sure to apply through regular decision. That deadline is also January 4th, but you'll find out in mid to late March if you've been admitted, and have until May 1st to let us know if you'll be attending. So the big difference between early decision 1 and 2 is just simply that deadline of when are you ready to apply. So that's really the only difference there. Across all 3 of these application rounds, our financial aid policies are exactly the same. We are committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated financial need in our financial aid packages. We do this with no loans in our financial aid packages. So we really want to make sure that Hopkins is an affordable option for students from all different financial backgrounds. You can see what this might look like for you and your family by using tools like our My Intuition Quick Cost Estimator, as well as our Net Price Calculator. Both of these are on the financial aid website. So this is a really great way to actually see what your estimated financial aid package might look like. You might be surprised that it might be more affordable than you were expecting, because we are very much committed to meeting that 100% of demonstrated financial need. We also have merit scholarships. You don't need to do anything additional to apply for those while you're applying. You're just automatically considered for those while we read your application. So merit scholarships are definitely more rare than our need-based financial aid, but they are there, and something to be excited about if you receive a merit scholarship, but something we tell our students not to count on to make Hopkins affordable. If you're looking for financial support, please do apply for that need-based financial aid. So that hopefully gives you a lot of information about the logistics of applying as well as the student experience. I'd love to take questions for our last 10 minutes. I unfortunately, with my tech issues, I'm not able to see the Q&A box or click on anything within Zoom. So I don't know, would you be able to help me out by reading some of the questions that might be in there?
Hi, Jenny. I'm happy to pop in and read the questions to you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry that I'm
You
having.
are fine. We've got a couple in here. So
Great.
a student would like to know, which standardized tests do you accept for pre-med students?
Great question. So for standardized testing, we can accept the ACT or the SAT. We have no preference on whichever one you're submitting. But like I mentioned, for this coming year, it is test optional. So you're really able to make that decision for yourself, like I was explaining earlier. But for pre-med at Hopkins, you're not applying in to being a pre-med student at Hopkins. Neither are you applying in to be a specific major at Hopkins, with that one exception of the biomedical engineering major. That's the only major that you'll get a specific admissions decision for. But you're still also considered for admissions as a whole to Hopkins. There's no disadvantage for applying to BME, the biomedical engineering program. So there's no specific separate testing that you would need to submit if you're interested in medical fields. That would be something that we don't even ask about on the application. That'd be something that you would share with the pre-professional advising office the summer before you arrive on campus. They'll send out a survey so that they can know to include you in their advising and in their resources that they share out. We do allow for you to submit other types of testing just as a part of your application, like AP tests or IB tests or subject tests, but those are 100% optional and something that you could just self-report on the Common App if you're wanting those to be included.
Thank you. We've got a couple more.
Great.
Is there a special application for financial aid, or do you all utilize the FAFSA?
Great question. So to apply for financial aid, you do need to submit the FAFSA as well as the CSS profile. And then there's also some other tax documents you might need to send in. So we do utilize the FAFSA, the CSS profile to make those decisions or sort of see what your family could reasonably afford to give towards your higher education and for your degree at Hopkins. And then we'll meet that rest of the demonstrated need that you have. So if your family is able to only provide a little bit of financial support, we would meet that rest of the cost of attendance to Hopkins for tuition, room and board, fees, traveling to campus. So really wanting to make sure it's feasible for students from all different financial backgrounds. But if you're looking for sort of the exact documents, the FAFSA and CSS profile and sort of the codes you need to submit, that is all on our financial aid website. And they also offer financial aid 101 sessions as well virtually, so that you're able to easily attend those. Also, if you have family members that it might be helpful for you to go to that together, that's always a great one to go together and get all of your questions answered for.
All right. Could you also cover, oh, they moved on me. Are there any classes from high school that you all require to attend?
Great question. So at Hopkins, since we are definitely sort of thinking about you through that liberal arts mindset and thinking about the fact that you're not being admitted into a major, you're going to take classes across all different areas. We are looking for students to take classes across areas, typically to have challenge themselves with the rigorous courses available to them, but we don't have a set list of courses you must take to be considered for admission. So our recommendation is that you have 4 years of English, of history and social studies, foreign language, math, and sciences. If you're ever sort of taking one of those away for whatever reason, we do suggest that you try to replace it with another academic-oriented course. But these are sort of just recommendations. And we know each high school is individually different with their offerings, with what's available to you. So that's all looked at within the context of your own high school.
And then kind of going along with this, is there a certain GPA you all are looking for?
We do not have a minimum GPA. There's no minimums at all in our process because every high school is so different. Typically, students are doing very well in their courses, but there's no minimum GPA or anything like that either for standardized testing. It's all looked at within your own individual application. So it really varies of what GPAs students will have when they're admitted, because it does also vary greatly high school to high school of how those are reported or what goes into your GPA. So you do a much more sort of deeper dive on your transcript than just stopping after we see your GPA. We really want to look at what those individual courses are and what those grades were and trends across years. Did you improve as courses got more challenging, or did you not improve as courses got more challenging? We want to understand that sort of academic pathway for you.
All right, and then again, kind of academic related, do you all accept, I don't know what you might call it in Maryland, but basically like college course credit that students receive during high school?
Yeah, if you're doing College Credit Plus or dual enrollment through your schools, we are able to accept credit for that. It is sort of being determined on a very case-by-case basis of what those exact courses are. So at Hopkins, the typical degree is about 120 credits. 100 of those credits have to come from Johns Hopkins. So the majority of your academic credits and courses are going to be from Johns Hopkins, but you are able to bring in some outside credit. So whether that's from College Credit Plus or dual enrollment, as well as if you're taking AP or IB courses through high school, things like that, you are able to bring in some of those credits. So if you're taking a college level course or you're able to sort of have that transcript evaluated by our registrar's office to see, is there a one-to-one credit transfer for the course that you took that you would be able to get credit for at Hopkins. So this typically for like our AP classes, you'll typically see this is mostly in the math and sciences, because when you take calculus, it's very similar to the calculus we'll be offering. But sometimes when you're taking things like just sort of a survey of US history course, we might not have that exact same course syllabus and it might look very different. So those sometimes would be more challenging to bring in those exact credits for, but you'll work with your academic advisor to go through that credit transfer process. And then there's also opportunities to take sort of placement exams as well, because we never want you to be bored or taking things you've already mastered. So you'll be able to work with your academic advisor to find those right courses and be able to bring in credits with you to Hopkins.
All right, we've got 3 remaining questions. I'm going to kind of pair 2 together, and then the last one's talking about visiting. So can you cover the cost to live on campus as well as the acceptance rate? And then also somebody would like to know the number of credits a student can take per year.
Okay, great. So the total cost of attendance for Hopkins, which includes room and board, tuition, fees, everything, it's typically going to be about a little less than $75,000 per year. I know that might sound like a lot, which is why we have that really strong financial aid to make sure that it is affordable for all of our students. So to see that exact breakdown of what's tuition versus what's room and board, you can go to our financial aid website and they sort of break that down to the exact dollar amounts. But we really think about it as that total cost of attendance, because that's what you're going to need to be able to enroll at Hopkins, and we want to make sure we're supporting you across all those different areas that you'll need support in for tuition, room and board, etc. The acceptance rate always varies year to year. This past year, it was a little less than 10% for our admissions rate. So we do get a lot of students who are very interested in Johns Hopkins, more students than we're able to admit. So it is really thinking about the students that we think are going to be really strong in our particular environment. That's why that match piece, your supplemental essays, really helping us understand who you are beyond just a great student can be so helpful in our process. And then there was another question that I'm forgetting, I believe, but there was
No, you're fine. I think honestly, since we're about out of time, if you could just quickly cover when in-person tours will be, or if they have already started, and then we will finish up after that.
Thank you so much. So at Hopkins, we are completely virtual this semester. Our students are not on campus, and that also means our admissions office is closed. So we do not anticipate having in-person events or tours for at least until the end of the semester. We're going to sort of wait and see how the university moves forward before announcing any specific date of when you can expect to visit in person. We do have really robust virtual offerings. You can see we offer regular virtual guided tours with our current students, admission essay workshops, those financial aid 101 sessions. We offer an open house that'll be in November. We have senior preview days. So there's lots of ways to continue hearing directly from the community, see the campus, but in that virtual space for now.
All right, thank you all so much for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We would appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted. So again, you can sign up for additional sessions at oacac.org. In about a week, you'll also be able to find this session's recording as well as other recordings from previous sessions, once again at oacac.org. So thank you all for joining and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.